All right, welcome everyone. My name is Matthew Stone. I'll be leading this workshop. I am going to give about 2 or 3 more minutes for more people to join. So we'll start at approximately 2:05. This won't be a long workshop, probably around 30 minutes. All right, we'll begin. All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Matthew Stone. I will be leading this workshop. Empowering data privacy, leveraging open source LLM frameworks with GPT for all. So I'm sure most of you, well, before I begin, let me just, can you guys see my screen? You can indicate it in the chat. Okay. All right, great, thanks. All right, so I'm sure most of you have used ChatGPT before. We have an example of it here. Um, I personally use it a lot. It saved me a lot of time. I can essentially write reports, emails very quickly now using ChatGPT. Very powerful, very capable. Now, a concern a lot of people may have when using tools like ChatGPT is privacy, right? What do we mean by that? So there was a story that came out um, sometime last year. So this is when, ChatGPT relatively just came out. And there's a lot of hype around it. So everybody wanted to use ChatGPT. A lot of people weren't necessarily aware of the security concerns reusing ChatGPT. So some Samsung employees had, I guess, mistakenly leaked some of their sensitive code when using ChatGPT. Even I, as a developer, will definitely Yeah, even I as a developer have used ChatGPT while coding. And, one of the things that maybe a lot of people don't consider or think about while using ChatGPT is the fact that a lot of this information that you're inputting into ChatGPT, they're free to actually use it to retrain their model. Now, a consequence of that is, let's say, for example, they use whatever data you input into ChatGPT, they're retraining their models. And it's been shown it could be a case where someone else is able to access the data that you inadvertently leaked whilst using ChatGPT. Now, with this being the case, a lot of companies have essentially kind of taken the draconian approach to just say, hey, let's just ban the use of ChatGPT amongst our employees. So I know there are companies out here that have taken a similar approach, especially financial institutions, who especially have to be careful about leaking sensitive data because that could have very bad consequences. So essentially, how can we utilize the power of tools like ChatGPT or the technology that powers ChatGPT, which we call large language models, or you probably heard the term LLMs, without having to worry so much about privacy, data leaks? Especially a lot of companies could be benefiting from the ease of use, the convenience of being able to literally save a lot of time. And I'm sure a lot of you have experienced some of these benefits. Wouldn't it be great if, companies that are worried about data privacy can utilize and make use of some of these benefits? So, luckily, we have some open source tools that allow us to do that. One example of that is something called GPT for All. So before we begin, I'm just gonna have a presentation here. So I'm just gonna walk through what we mean by data privacy, some tools that are available that allow you to utilize the power of LLMs whilst being rest assured that your data is kept private. Um, Questions, we can leave that at the end. So save your questions until the end and we can um, get to that. So data privacy. Data privacy is crucial in today's digital landscape. So with increasing concerns about data breaches and misuse, understanding how to protect personal information is paramount. This presentation explores how open source LLMs can enhance data privacy, focusing on GPT for all. So GPT for all is simply a program. I'll show you an example of it. Well, I'll show you the program. It is here, right? So anybody can download GPT for all. But essentially what it does, it allows us to make use of large language models. So we have what we call open source large. So ChatGPT isn't the only large language model that exists. Just putting that out there. In fact, you have a ton of models that you can make use of. And essentially, you can essentially use any one of these models, right? And you can basically just instantly start talking with them, just like how you normally do with ChatGPT. The cool thing about this is these models are actually running locally on your machine, right? So basically what that means is anything you're saying to the model is kept on your machine. It's not being sent to OpenAI or Microsoft or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about necessarily leaking any sensitive information because everything is basically happening on your machine. I will also show essentially how you can set up a server so that, let's say, for example, you have people in your organization. Not everybody maybe has a powerful enough machine to run some of the larger models. We can set it up in such a way that one computer, like a server, for example, can essentially run the model, and then it will basically allow it for other computers to connect to them. Um, so data privacy refers to the proper handling, processing, and storage of personal information. It encompasses the rights of individuals to control their data and the obligations of organizations to protect it. Understanding these principles is essential for regulatory compliance and maintaining user trust. So I say, especially when it comes to financial organizations, they have to be very mindful of how they handle data. So it's not a case where, you know, employees can just willy-nilly just start using ChatGPT, taking code that is sensitive or private to the organization, putting it into ChatGPT. Yes, it's convenient, and yes, it makes your job faster, but you could possibly be leaking sensitive information. That could include passwords, which could possibly leave the organization at risk. So LLMs, what are LLMs? So open source large language models have gained popularity due to their accessibility and adaptability. They provide developers with the tools to create customized solutions while promoting transparency and collaboration. So large language model, basically the technology that empowers tools like ChatGPT. Essentially what they did is they took a lot of text from the internet and they trained these models to be able to essentially converse like we humans do. So you can ask it any question, you can ask it to summarize documents, you can ask it to write up an email. All you have to do is provide something called a prompt, right? So I can simply ask it a question like, who is the president? And the large language model is able to take this prompt and then output a response. Now, as I said, when I use something like ChatGPT, anything I say to ChatGPT, especially if it's the free version, which I'm guessing most of you probably use, um, it's a possibility that they're using said data that you're inputting into these models to retrain their models. So it has been shown where people have been able to get people's sensitive information by cleverly prompting these models, right? So you have to be careful how you use these tools. Yes, they're powerful. Yes, they're convenient, but they have possible security leaks. So GPT-4 also briefly introduced it. Essentially, it's a versatile and effective open source framework that allows anyone to operate an open source LLM locally. So basically, what had happened when these LLMs had just came out, right? So for example, ChatGPT. ChatGPT, when it just came out, utilized a particular LLM called GPT-4, right? Or, well, it started out at 3.5, but let's just say GPT-4. Now, GPT-4 is a very big model, right? It's very huge. So, no, you can't run that on your machine, right? Most of you can't. You need millions and millions of dollars worth of server equipment to run something like that. Now, what researchers have done and the open source community have done over the years since then is essentially create smaller models that are fairly capable, right? Maybe not as accurate as the very big, the GPT-4 model, but it's open source. I mean, you can use it without having to pay for it. That's one of the other nice things about open source. No need to pay OpenAI to use it. And it's small, so it's able to actually run on your hardware, your machine. Which is very convenient because that means now you can use these LLMs privately. So typically when you're using something like ChatGPT, your query is sent off to the cloud, right? All the processing happens on the cloud and sends back the response. With GPT for all and tools like GPT for all, it allows you to download the LLM right on your machine, and you're able to essentially talk with the large language model right on your machine. So you don't have to worry about accidentally leaking private data and getting yourself or your company in trouble, essentially. So benefits of using open source, cost effectiveness. So as I said, typically with OpenAI, if you want to use some of the better models, you have to pay for it. So there's either the monthly subscription fee, or you can pay for the API keys. You have community support and flexibility. So this idea that ChatGPT has an edge that these open source LLMs don't have, that's quickly evaporating, right? So I believe within the next, say, a few months or to a year, there isn't really going to be any difference in capabilities, right? And especially as these hardware gets cheaper and better, and more work is being done to see how these LLMs can run on smaller and smaller, or I guess you could say less faster hardware. Then literally you can run the best LLMs on your phone, right? Or on your laptop. There isn't going to be any difference between you using it locally versus, say, using it on the cloud, right? And that's going to be very beneficial because now you have data privacy and you have the power of a large language model. Imagine in your organization, all your employees can feel comfortably about literally typing anything into into the LLM, because they don't have to worry about possibly leaking data. You don't even need a workshop to kind of tell people how to use it properly so that they don't possibly leak data. That saves up a lot of time, and empowering your employees, empowering yourself to essentially save a lot of time, save a lot of money. I can imagine a lot of organizations, even here in Jamaica, that instead of taking that draconian approach of, hey, let's just ban the use of it altogether, if you use this approach now, you basically allow your employees to make use of the power of LLMs, saving a lot of time, saving your organization a lot of money. And you can be rest assured that you're not leaking any sensitive data to anybody. So despite advancement, data privacy challenges persist. So issues like data breaches, misuse of AI, regulatory compliance pose significant risks. Organizations must navigate these challenges while implementing robust security measures to protect sensitive information. So integrating GPT-4 into computer deployments enhances data privacy by enabling users to interact with models that prioritize user confidentiality. By utilizing techniques like differential privacy, organizations can ensure that individual data points remain protected while still benefiting from AI insights. Now, the cool thing about running your LLM locally, I'll show you in the demo, you can make use of something called RAG. So RAG means Retrieval-Augmented Generation. Now, I'm sure many of you have probably used ChatGPT before and maybe asked it a question and it did something called hallucination. Hallucination is basically when the model isn't really sure of the correct answer and sometimes just makes it up. It will sound like it's convinced that the answer it gives you is right, but when you look at the answer, it's completely wrong, it's completely false, right? That's just a feature of LLMs, right? They can give you, they can hallucinate and give you wrong answers. Now, what is RAG? Essentially, just imagine you have, I'm sure a lot of you have, maybe who are running companies, have a lot of data. You probably don't even know how to kind of make use of that data right now. Some of that data, or a lot of that data, probably in PDFs, probably Excel spreadsheets, whatever it may be. What RAG essentially allows you to do is to basically use all of that data as context. So instead of the model just making up, doing its best to essentially make up an answer, what it will do instead is to reference the data you provide and give you answers that are more relevant to said data, right? So just imagine you have PDFs of earnings reports, right? You basically want to be able to quickly write up a summary. Imagine the amount of time you'd have to go through reading all that earnings report. And you definitely don't want to upload this to ChatGPT because that might again be sensitive information that you don't want to get out there right now. So just imagine being able to run your LLM locally. You basically point it to your earnings report and you can literally right away have a summary just by typing in a few words, right? That's a power that we're enabling, or this tool or tools like this enable essentially. So I'm gonna basically now walk you through a demo of basically how you would install GPT for all, how you can essentially download any open source model. You can load the model, then you can provide your own, say, company data, and then have the model reference that as context to give more relevant responses. All right, so I'm guessing most of you have probably Windows computers, but GPT-4All works on all platforms. So you can literally just type it in your browser, just say GPT-4All, and you can download it. There's one for Mac, or if you have Ubuntu, you can, right? Once you download it, the UI looks like this, right? So as I said, so let's just walk through the UI a bit. So I have chats here, so I can start a new chat if I want to, and choose a model. But let's right now I only have one model installed, which is this one, Llama. So Llama is one of those famous open source models, right? Um, so the name of the model is Llama 3.2, where you say 3B, that's just the size of the model, right? So you may be limited to what size model you're able to download, depending on the how much storage it takes up, as well as how much memory, computer memory is required to run a model like that. If you want to add a new model, you can simply, let me just make sure you guys still see my screen. Okay, should be. If you want to add a new model, you can simply come here, click add model, and you can, yeah, just pick one of the models that are available here. Okay. Some of these models require API keys. If you want to run it locally, don't use those models. Just use the ones that where it says download, right? And it will basically kind of give you some statistics about the model within the context size. That's basically how much words you can put into a single prompt. So it's all here, right? So the model that I'd recommend you can start out with is Llama model. So you have this one here, Llama 3 8B instruct, right? Again, as I said, the more B's it has, the more memory, and it may take longer to give you a response. So it even tells you the computer requirements. So it says your file size 4.3 gigs, RAM required 8 gigs. This server, this computer, Windows server I'm running, I think it has 4 gigs, so I probably can't download this one, right? But as I said, so you can probably work with this one, 3B, right? So yeah, RAM required 4 gigs and it's only 2 gigs, right? So once you download the model, you click download, it will download. You can come to chats. You can literally come here and choose from the models that you've downloaded. All right, so you can literally ask it a question. So I'll just ask it that same question that I asked it. So take some time and it will give you the response. All right, so I mean, typically with some of these LLMs, if you're trying to ask it current day affairs questions, it might not be able to uh, answer that. So I mean, what's this tallest mountain? But general questions, it should be able to answer that, right? So it outputs information. So this is me essentially using a tool like ChatGPT without having to worry about my information probably leaking to the cloud. It's literally running right on my computer. And members of your organizations can literally do the same thing. Now, this is where let's get to the RAG component now. This is where the cool, I'd say the most useful feature comes in, because you don't just want general information, right? You want information that's relevant to your organization, right? So maybe you have earnings reports, or maybe you have just reports in general. I know some of you know how much time it takes to go through reading those reports, writing up summaries, or even coming up with notes for slides and stuff like that. It takes a lot of time. Just imagine you can essentially make use of the power of LLMs to reference said information or said data from your company without having to worry about leaking that information to anybody. Right? So how do we do that? So essentially come here to local docs and click add collection. So I can call it uh, company data, or right. Now, basically, all you would need is just a folder that has the information that you need. So in my downloads folder, I have a PDF here, annual report. So basically just create a folder and drop all the company data in that folder, and you just basically reference that folder. So everything is in my downloads folder. So I select folder and it will create a column. So here it is, company data. All right, so you can have any number of documents in that folder and it will basically utilize that. So how do I chat with or basically be able to utilize that now? So basically what I can do, you come here to server chat. You can select the source. So I'm gonna select company data. So you can select multiple sources, by the way. So this report, that is a Grace Kennedy earnings report, I believe. So it even gives you suggested questions referencing. And the cool thing as well, let's say you have multiple documents, it will literally reference which document it got the information from, essentially. So you don't have to worry about it, essentially making stuff up, because now it can literally tell you exactly, hey, I got the information from here. So let me see if I can. Let me see new chat. Data. So, well, let me actually not. So let me show you what would have happened. So let me say, what is Grace Kennedy? So this is without me using the documents. Um, all right, so you see kind of coming up with some stuff here, which probably not really relevant, right? Obviously, I'm not talking about a Grace Kelly. So let me try using this now and see what happens. See if that works. So now you see it's actually searching the reports. So it's referencing the documents to give a response. It's not gonna give you some made up stuff or stuff irrelevant to what you're trying to do. So the drawback to this is, I guess, depending on the speed of your computer, um, it it takes time. You see the difference in response? So the first one, I guess, make up something about some Jamaican businesswoman and a Grace Kelly. Now it's giving you more relevant responses, right? Let me just take a look at this document just to kind of see what's in this. So maybe we can ask a specific question. Um, maybe we can say, like, is Grace Kennedy profitable, or how much did Grace Kennedy earn? And just what it does is the accuracy of these responses can be improved by, again, if you have a bigger model, like the bigger the model tend to be the more accurate. But as I said, as time goes on, it it's going to, all right, so see, it's giving you some information here. Here's some key 2022, 30, right, net profit. Right. Let's see the source that it, yeah, and see it came from here. Oh, so someone asked, can this assist with my code? Yeah, so you can use code as context as well. There's a tool, let me see, I don't remember the name of the tool right now, but so GPT for all isn't the only tool of its kind. So we have this here called LM Studio. But essentially, yes, you can use code as context. There's a program that works directly with your code editor. Trying to remember the name of it. Codium. Codium. Yes, Codium. So essentially, you should be able to connect this with your your private LLM server essentially. So I'll show you how to even set up that server. So so I mean that's are there coding specific? Yes, there's coding specific models. I don't know if it's in GPT for all, but there are coding specific models. So so let me show you the server thing. So essentially, let's say for example, you're running this on a very powerful machine, and obviously not everybody in your organization may have a similar or a machine of similar power. Essentially, what can happen here is we can set up this machine as a server, right? So basically, um, you can have the other machines essentially just send requests to that server so that it does all the processing. So this computer will do all the processing whilst making it available for any member of your organization to be able to essentially query that. Um, so you have open source UI tools that are able to hook up to these servers, but I'm going to just um yeah, so I'm just going to show you how that that the server is actually working. So this tool here is called Postman. Essentially, it's just gonna send a request to the server that was set up, but it's just to show you that there is a server running, and essentially any member of your or any computer on that network can connect to said server. So you simply pass the model that you want to use and literally pass a prompt, and it should work. So just imagine now you have a server set up in your organization that's running the LLM locally, and you can essentially set up machines that connect to said server. Now you're empowering multiple members in your organization to make use of the power of LLMs whilst not having now to worry about them leaking information because they're not using ChatGPT anymore. They're going to be using your local LLMs. Um, yeah. And you can empower your those local LLMs with your own data by utilizing RAG. And it's really as simple as just adding the documents to a folder. And it's as simple as that. So essentially, um, as I said, GPT-4 isn't the only tool. You have other tools, even some of them more capable than GPT-4. Also, you have this tool here called LM Studio. Um, So you have some models that not only allow you to basically talk with them with text, you can actually attach, say, images and stuff like that. So you have what we call multimodal models. There's a model called, let me see what's it called. I think it's called Lava or something. Oh yeah. So these are, if you use LM Studio, remember there was a question about there's a question about if they're code specific models. So some of them here, you have, right? So you can just literally download these and use them. I think LM Studio actually has access to more, so I probably recommend using that. And to be honest, it has a prettier UI, which would be ideal for my personal computer. Either one can work. LM Studio works as well. As to, it depends on in terms of what model you're able to use, really just depends on if you have the specs to be able to run it, right? So I wouldn't be going up to like 14B, 32B, unless you have a powerful server. I'll probably stick with like 3B, 1B models. Yeah, so Craig's Gemma 2. Yeah, so I think the new Gemma models are here as well. I think Gemini, oh yeah, Gemma, yeah. There's a model that allows you to, I think it's Lava, yeah. So Lava has vision enabled, so you can literally paste images, right? So you can basically paste an image and ask, hey, what's going on in this image? Um, so there's that as well. But yeah, the whole point of this workshop is to basically say, hey, there's another option. So it's not care about privacy, just use ChatGPT, whatever happens, happens. And draconian, just don't use it at all. We're too scared to use these things because we don't want to leak any data. There's a third option, which is you can make use of the power of these LLMs whilst securing your privacy because it's now running locally. You don't have to worry about possibly leaking code. For example, let's say you're a developer and you want to basically be able to, and even I as a developer can see that the use of using these LLMs to write code. But let's say, for example, you have some sensitive code, like maybe some of that code is utilizing API keys or passwords, something like that. Even if you're not the coder, maybe you're the CEO and you want your developers to be able to do work a lot quicker. There is a third option. So you don't have to say, hey, don't use any of these things and potentially miss out on the ability to save a lot of time. You can literally tell them, hey, you can make use of tools like LM Studio or GPT-4 or even you have code editors nowadays that literally have these things baked in. Um, I think Codium is one of them. Trying to remember the other one. So yeah, VS Codium, so that this works with Visual Studio. If you're a developer, you're familiar with this. And you can literally on the fly basically um yeah, on the fly actually make use of LLMs in your code and it can reference your code, right? And instead of using the cloud, right? It can literally make use of the private LLM that you have on your machine. I think, let me see if I have Codium. Don't think I have it installed on this. Right. What's my preferred? I usually use Visual Studio. And as I said, there's a plugin to make use. Let me see if I can look it. Visual Studio plugin. Um, right. So Ollama Copilot. Mhm. So yeah, there's these plugins available for Visual Studio Code. So this is one Code LLM. So you can install this and yeah. So you have two options. Either you can use the OpenAI if you don't really care so much about the privacy. All you have to do is just use the API key. But obviously that's gonna come at a cost. Or if you want to run your LLM locally, you have something called Ollama, which you can allows you to do that as well. All right. So Ollama, you can download and install it. Let's go Ollama. So basically, It's the same thing. You will run the LLM in the background for you. And basically, once you do that, you can make use of it. And the cool thing with this, again, it will use the code as context. So which you can basically write your code a lot faster. So basically, my, I guess, plea to organizations is um, you have to, in this day and age, if your developers aren't making use of LLMs while coding or developing it, they're wasting time, right? And if you're concerned with privacy, there's a third option, and this is the option, right? Of course, it's up to you at the end of the day what decisions you make for your organization. But I can say confidently that um, not making use of the power of LLMs is a mistake because you're talking about saving a whole lot of time. I know you can save time with a peace of mind knowing that your data isn't being leaked to OpenAI. All right. So that's my plea. We'll be releasing, for those who signed up for this workshop, we'll be releasing in document form, everything we talked about today. Also, talking about alternative tools, um, specifically for developers as well as just for like managers, how to set these things up and you know, basically you can possibly work with your IT team to get this stuff set up. So your members in your organizations can make use or benefit from the power of LLMs. As I said, your organization is going to be falling behind if you're not making use of this right now. Um, it's a very powerful tool and it can save your organization a whole lot of time. So this allows you to make use of that whilst having the privacy, peace of mind. Okay, I will bring it to a close there. Any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. So I'll just have about 5 minutes or 10 minutes for questions. I see some in the chat already. I think I'll answer some of them. I think document format. So I think it depends on the model. So some allow you to PDF, doc, CSV text, also images. Da, da, da. Okay, let's see how much people are in the chat. Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, the whole point of these workshops is just to kind of make people aware of what exists out there. A lot of people kind of fear AI, um, but I think there are more benefits than harms. So, especially now in 2024, going into 2025, we have to find every way possible to make use of these tools. It's gonna make your life a whole lot easier, make your work a lot easier, save you a lot of time, especially if you're a developer, you have to be using AI tools while coding. Like that's not even a question anymore. If you're working on a project and you're doing the old method, which is you're basically searching through Stack Overflow or taking forever to write code because you're trying to plan it out, you're wasting time. And again, if your concern is privacy, you don't want to possibly copy some code, especially you really shouldn't be doing that. Into say chat GPT, you could be possibly putting your organization at risk. So this is another option. All right. Definitely. And even if you're not a developer, again, it could just be a manager and you're looking to write up reports or summarize a document. You just want to kind of get a brief gist of what's going on in some your company data, right? Um, Imagine not having to spend your time or even hire somebody having to go through all of that, read all that information. Imagine, again, utilizing the power of LLMs without having to worry about leaking any information to the public. Um, that's just a lot of benefits right there. Yeah, cool. All right. I guess that is that. I don't see any more questions. Hope you guys benefited from this workshop in some way. Um, and I hope you're able to utilize it for your organizations or even if it's for your own personal use, to save a lot of time, save money. Cool. All right, guys. As I said, we will be providing information to those who signed up so that you can go off and make use of the power of AI in a safe way. All right, guys, thanks for coming. Bye.
Hi everybody. I'm Sarah from CTC, Jamaican Developers. I'm just trying to figure out if we're doing anything else after the presentation, because I realize that some of us are still on the call. So I'm just trying to figure out if we need to end.
Hi, Sarah.